Hey guys, FrugalBC, and I'm going to do a little bit different of a video today. I'm not going to talk about news. We got plenty of that coming, and we'll do that tomorrow. We'll start with some Algorand news again, but I want to talk today about the crypto market crashing, and I want to talk about some principles that I think you guys should have to when you think about this stuff. And we're going to get into a few of these things. I'm going to go through some thoughts on how to think about the crypto markets and some unrealistic things that I think people have. So, first off, of course, if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button, shows this video. And I think this is going to be an important video, so I'd really appreciate you guys hitting the like button on this one. As I always say, you don't have to smash it. You can just press it gently, and that's just fine. And I do want to give a shout out to our channel members, our channel sponsors and channel members too. Give you guys a shout out too. You guys need, some people have really been supporting the channel, and I appreciate that. I do want to give a shout out, however, to our sponsor, Haystack, the trading app on Algorand. One of the easiest ways to trade on Algorand. I think it's a great app. You should get it today, and you can get some rewards. I'll get some rewards too. Check that out in the description. And it's brought to you by Marcus Aurelius, the NFT and meme coin that is spreading the word about Stoicism. I really like this project because, Stoicism is really important to me as well. And so I really like shouting that out. I think he's got a good ethos. The guy behind it's really cool. Same thing with Haystack, by the way. So definitely check out both of these apps. And I like to bring it to you real because I don't know. I could do a canned one every time, but I really do like both of these projects. The Haystack people, same one behind NFT, the non-fungible domains. I just like these builders. And so I'm really careful with who I partner with. That's why I'm happy to shout those guys out. And, a big shout out to our channel members because you guys help keep this channel going. Appreciate your support. Trying to bring you those experiment videos. And I got to tell you, Alpha has been one of the best ones so far. I think I might make a separate Alpha video this week. I think that's coming. So some of you channel members, though, you've been seeing the success early. You could have already gotten in on it. So definitely check out our channel memberships if you haven't. But let's get to today's thing. And I want to start with something I said today. I'm not going to pull it up. But I do want to say, I basically said, well, actually, I will pull it up. All right, so I'm going to pull up this tweet because I think this is a really important point that a lot of people need to keep in mind. I said, your favorite asset isn't mispriced. If it was, more people would buy it and it would no longer be mispriced. And, some people got a little mad about it. They're like, oh, but Algorand's underpriced. No, it isn't. No, it isn't, because if it was underpriced, more people would buy it. The fact is, that is what the market values it right now. Now, it's important to pull this apart a little bit, because what does that mean? Could in a year from now, Algorand be valued more? Sure. When you're buying an asset now, you think it's going to be more valued in the future. That is priced into the current price because that comes at a discount. Okay. So when companies like, when these big hedge funds will value stocks, they're looking at the future earning potential and they're creating a discount model. They're using a discount model to figure out how much it will be worth in the future, how much they should buy it at now. So if you think it's going to be more valuable in the future, then it might be a good price right now for you to buy. But there's a lot of assumptions. There's a risk baked into that. And that's why it's not mispriced now. It's actually the price it ought to be right now, because that is what the market currently values it. There's no such thing as mispriced. And I think people got to get out of this mindset because it makes you think that, oh, this thing's going to explode to the moon. Who knows? Who knows? That's the risk. That's why you get it at a lower price, because there's a risk. Why is Bitcoin even now still at 90-some thousand? We can look at that, 92,900. Remember, I remember looking up the price of Bitcoin and it being several Bitcoin to a penny. Okay. I remember those days. I didn't have any myself. I wish I had bought some, but I probably would have lost it. Let's be honest. I actually had some Bitcoin through Bitcoin faucets and I lost it because I didn't value it the same way. Just like a lot of people probably don't value Algorand at that level. And, there's no reason necessarily to guarantee that it will be undervalued right now. That's why, Bitcoin was a risk back then. It wasn't mispriced back then. That's the price it should have been back then when nobody knew what Bitcoin was. Hardly. It was, people hadn't even heard of it back then. I mean, there was like a handful of people on Twitter talking about it. And, I was friends with some of them. So you're always buying at a potential discount and you hope it's going to go up. And this is what I think people miss, because people will say, well, it's mispriced right now. No, it's not mispriced right now. It may be at a discount compared to future a future value, but that doesn't mean it's mispriced right now. So I want to say that as we're in the middle of, the middle of this crash, because this is important stuff to keep in mind. I really think you have to have a realistic vision. Now, I don't think it's a bad idea to make a bet on Algorand, or, Algorand right now at 15 cents. That's what the market values it at right now. So you can say it's mispriced. It is not mispriced. You might wish it was priced higher. You might think it ought to be, but it's not mispriced. You may think it's going to be bigger in the future, but that still doesn't mean it's mispriced right now. And this isn't just semantics. This is because you have to keep that discount in mind when you think about the future potential. There's a risk of opportunity cost. If I have stuff in Algorand, I could have that in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin seems like a more guaranteed but less potentially volatile increase because it has a track record of having increased. Algorand does not have that track record. And if you look at the long-term horizon of Algorand, it still has never hit its launch price. A lot of people call it a botched launch because it launched at what did we have here? Over $3 it launched at, just crashed immediately. And even in the bull run, it never got up that high again. So this is important stuff to keep in mind. Now, I'm keeping my Algorand bag where it is. I think it has some future potential. People will say like $10. I think that's crazy. I don't even think it makes sense to make a price prediction. People can do that, but they're really all based on nothing. I want to talk about some other influencer tactics too, by the way. Cassius had a good response too, by the way. Facts. Doesn't matter how much I hate the price of Algorand right now. The market is never wrong. It's a philosophy I am forced to live by as a realist. 100%. 100%. And Finjita NFT says, anything in the world is only worth what someone will pay for it. I really like what Cassius had to say there. It made a lot of sense. I want to talk about this because I think this is important. Two little pieces of influencer BS. And I saw this today. One of them was one of my favorite bits of influencer BS is they're manipulating the price. Who is they? And what's the evidence that they're manipulating the price? Undefined and trust me, bro, which is pretty much what you get. And look at the number of views. One little like, barely any views. I can post a price chart of some ASA and get like 1,000 views. And I shared this, which is like realistic. This is stuff you really got to know. And no one likes it. It's fine. I just think it's funny because this is the stuff I see this stuff all the time. I'll see this in influencers who use this all the time, whether they're on X or in YouTube, and they'll be like, well, there's definitely some price manipulation. No, there isn't. Shut up. No one gives a crap. Okay. It's like people say that whenever the price isn't going the right way. Here's tactic number 2. And I'm going to start like pointing some of these out more because I think they're funny. Bullshit influencer tactic number 2, the mysterious phone call. I've seen this so many times. BitBoy Crypto used to do this all the time. Always BS. This one got a little more attention. It's with someone very important and well connected. They can't say who it is. Oh, but it's very important, and they have this inside information that they decided to call this influencer and tell about for no reason whatsoever. And they're saying something as major is happening on just long enough time. I should have said happening in just a long enough time horizon that if it doesn't happen, you'll have completely forgotten about it. But it's recent enough that they can go back and say, see, I told you so. It's there in the record. They can go search their tweets and say, yep, it's happening. See, I told you so. So it's like this setup for, I really can't be wrong unless someone is really paying attention and they mark it. And then they come back and say, hey, what happened to that? What happened to that thing? Most people are just not going to put in the effort to do this. So this is the BS influencer tactic number 2. And we see that because right now you're going to see a lot of this with the price falling. You can see Bitcoin sitting at under 93,000 right now. Ethereum at around 3,000, XRP. Now, could this change? I think one thing we're seeing for sure is that the 4-year cycle is pretty much a thing of the past, if it ever really existed. There's a very good theory that the 4-year cycle actually has to do with a broader liquidity cycle, and it never had anything to do with the halvening or the halving. I still like the halvening. I just got a kick out of that, but I know people don't like that. So yeah, we're just seeing a lot of red on the market, and if you are a believer in stuff like Bitcoin and some of the majors, and I would probably stick to the majors if I'm being honest. I don't know if I'd I'm going to get shit from my audience for saying this, but I don't know if I'd put more money in Algorand right now. Now, one thing I want to point out is XRP, my average buy was like 58 cents, something like that. So I'm still up a little bit under 4x, over 3x for sure. Solana, I bought back in a little bit, so my average went up to in the 70s, but it was around, I bought a lot around $20, 18 to 20 some dollars I was buying at. And you guys have seen, some of you guys have seen my my bull run portfolio. Not everything worked. Polygon used to be up here. We're up here now. Polygon's way down and then you see something like this Canton. Where the heck did that come from? Did something change names? Otherwise, this is totally new. Near, I took a lot of profit on Near when it was up around $7. And that's probably the last thing I want to talk about today, actually. I want to put that out there. If you guys are not taking profit when you're up, you're making a mistake. I took profit in XRP. I took profit in Solana. And you know what? My bull run portfolio, and you guys are our channel members, you've been seeing this week after week. My bull run portfolio has been like completely de-risked. I have taken enough profit out that I can't lose. And that's thanks to Bitcoin, which I've now switched to a dollar cost average strategy, and that's what I'm going to stick with from now on. I should probably even take it out of that portfolio, to be honest, because it's not going to be part of that anymore. XRP, I took profits. Solana, I took profits. When it's up, I took profits. Same thing with like Mina and PYR. A bunch of those pumped really early, and I made pretty good gains on them. HBAR, I took HBAR profits. You're a fool if you're not taking profits. You got a lot, especially on the alts. Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum I would DCA into. That's what Ethereum I've been like buying a little bit. I don't know. I'm very convinced that Bitcoin, we see the institutions but pouring more money into it. So I'm definitely DCA on that. And those are some of the things, those are the principles I want to talk about. The main thing is like, you got to be a realist with this stuff. You cannot get married to your bags, and I know that's not how people work. People get really, really excited about Algorand. People get really, really excited about HBAR, and then they get really mad if you point out something. So far, hate to say it, guys, HBAR has done a lot better for me than Algorand. I mean, Hedera is like Hedera was like, I was buying at like 5 cents. Algorand, I was buying a little bit at 8-9 cents, but mostly it was higher than that. And Hedera has just been, it's still, even with this drawdown, this is like just a little under 3x where I was. So I don't know, take that what it's worth, but you gotta be realistic about this stuff. The price action on Algorand has just never been great. And I'm going to keep that in mind in the future. I think it's a great project. I like doing stuff on it. I like my sponsors pay me through Algorand, and it works really, really well. I get a lot of donations. No one's ever asked for my HBAR address. It's always Algorand. But I don't have as many, or there's a lot of cross people. There's a lot of people who are Algorand, HBAR, both, but I think generally speaking, you guys should be, just don't get married to bigs. Don't be maxis. XRP has a lot of maxis, and I think it's a great coin to hold. The narrative works. That's the other thing is, last thing I'll leave you with, a lot of this is so driven by narrative, and you guys got to keep that in mind, okay? So much of this is driven by narrative. It has nothing to do with fundamentals. And that's not entirely untrue about stocks, but I think stocks are based a little more on fundamentals. The fundamentals, with quarterly earnings and things like that, tend to move the price a little bit more. It tends to be based on something solid. Not always, stuff like GameStop showed that you can absolutely manipulate this stuff with the right ethos, I guess, enough people coordinating. But generally speaking, like I just would get out of that mindset. I would see what tends to move in price, where the narrative tends to go, and focus on that. And when you get profit, guys, take your profits. Take your profits. You know what? I'm never going to you might lose a little on the top, but you're not going to round trip. And round tripping is so much worse than losing. You take a little bit, you're up 2x. Okay, shave 10, 15% off. That's what I've been doing. So anyway, like I said, an unusual video today. I didn't even take my earpiece out. I usually have that in when I'm, setting things up. I just want to be real with you guys, and I feel like it's just something I wanted to talk about. I know this won't get the most views. It's fine. But let me know what you think. Maybe you disagree with me. Yell at me in the comments. It's fine. I don't mind. If you like it, hit the like button. Let everyone know. And you can tell me that too. You don't have to yell at me in the comments. You can say I agree too. Either one. I'm okay with either. So let me know. Frugal BC. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the future.